Hello and welcome to A Little Crafting. My name is Annie and this is my podcast where I talk about all the things that I have been making. That usually includes knitting, spinning, weaving, sewing, all sorts of things. And today is the 11th of November, so it's not been that long since I last released an episode. If you want to find me on social media, you can find me on Ravelry as Ankiwoo or on Instagram as a_little_crafting. And here's where I talk a little bit about what I have been making. So elephant in the room is I have a finished object, and that is my Weekender sweater by Andrea Mowry. That's the pattern name. I have knit it in Durarem Natura Gilliatt in the colourway Shawl, which is this really lovely light blue colour. I'm going to stand up a little bit and actually show you what it looks like. So this is it. I did enjoy knitting it, but I think I mentioned on the last episode that I'm not 100% sure that this style of sweater really suits my body type. So I would say in summary, I would probably not knit this pattern again for that reason. So it's partly the boat neck and partly the boxy style. I do have another sweater, actually I have 2 or 3 that are in this kind of shape, and I don't know why I keep knitting them, because what I suppose what I don't like is that you end up with this sort of excess fabric under the arms that sort of just puffs out or rolls out like this, which I don't really like. The boat neck kind of, I feel a little bit more uncomfortable with it. I feel like I need to keep moving it around because the back of my neck is getting cold, but then also I don't want it too high at the front either because it sort of cuts me there. And yeah, generally I'm probably going to avoid these types of patterns in future, but I had this on my list to make for a very long time. I think it suits other people much better. And I actually do like the look of a boat neck. I just don't really like wearing one myself. I'm much happier with sort of a closer round neck or a kind of high neck style, effectively. Let me talk a bit about the yarn. So if you've been watching the podcast for a long time, you know that Gilliatt is my absolute favourite yarn. And I will knit so much in this because it's just perfect, right? It's not as soft as superwash merino, but it is merino. But it's really very light because it is woolen spun instead of worsted spun. That means there's a lot of air in it that stays when it's going through the spinning process. And as such, it is incredibly warm, but also very light, and it dries very quickly. So I think overall it took less than half a day for this sweater to dry on a blocking mat. I'd squeezed it out quite thoroughly in a towel and all of that before laying it out flat to dry, but I'm still absolutely in love with this yarn. I need to redo a my favourite yarns video at some point. It will still be #1. And I'm going to continue to use it for a lot of different projects. But overall, trying to avoid these types of patterns in future, because for example, I have a boxy sweater by Joji Locatelli, which is also a boxy shape in a very similar colour to this as well. It's in a kind of light turquoise. And I don't really wear that. That was the first sweater I knit because I thought it would be a simple knit. I've also got an On the Grass, I think, by Joji Locatelli, which also has this wide neck. I wear that a little bit more, but I think it's because it's more fitted and it's in superwash yarn. But again, I find this a little bit strange and I don't feel too comfortable in it. So So yeah, I'm learning, I think. More round necks, maybe some polo neck, high neck things. So I'm going to have to go through my Ravelry queue and figure out what sweaters I should be taking out and deciding not to knit. Especially because there's a few Andrea Mowry patterns that have sort of this boxy shape and the neckline like this that I think I've bought over the years, thinking, oh, that looks nice, I'll wear that one, or I'll knit that one. And yeah, maybe not the best choice, because I think I'm unlikely to wear them as often, and also if I don't feel good in something, I'm just probably not gonna wear it in general. But yeah, I'll see if I maybe give this away to a family member or something like that if someone else wants it. But it's finished, and that's the important thing. I was never planning on completely giving up. I put this down for a long period of time and then decided to pick it up again a couple of weeks ago and whizzed through it. Basically, I think I was on the sleeves, or just started the sleeves last time I recorded, which was about 2 weeks ago. So yeah, done and dusted. That's the thing, and that gives me the freedom to cast on something else, because I don't feel the pressure of all of my, or a languishing sweater whip waiting for me to finish it, rather than me being allowed to cast something else on. So I'll talk a little bit about that later. But yeah, really love the yarn. The sweater style is not for me, is the summary, I think. But yeah, absolutely feel free to knit it yourself. That's just my own personal opinion and my own personal style that's kind of coming through there. I love the colour of this, so I'm really hoping that I might see if my mum can try it on and see if she likes it, or she's much smaller than me, so maybe a friend of mine. I'm not 100% sure, but we shall see about that. There we go, but done. Love the yarn. That's to summarise. Cool. I am gonna swiftly move on to my works in progress, and I only have 2 works in progress that I'm going to show this week, because I am about to cast on another sweater knit. So my first one is a Sophie shawl by Petite knit. This is one that you will have seen before on this podcast. Oh, actually those colours go really well together. That's interesting. This is a really simple shawl scarf. I actually wear mine more as a scarf, the one that I've got in pink, that is really nice and what Americans would call potato chippy. It is everywhere, but I really love it because it's so easy to wear. So I'm making some more of them. This one is in some more of my own hand dyed yarn, and it is on organic non-superwash merino. As a base, it's DK weight yarn. I've got 200 grams of it, and the other thing I love about this pattern is that you can knit it as big or as small as you want to based on the yarn that you have. There's very clear instructions in the pattern, so it's definitely worth spending a little money just to have those instructions. It's not too expensive. I think about £3 was what I paid for it in GBP. But I am just over the halfway point, so I'm starting to decrease now. So I've got this much done, and then there'll be the equivalent amount the other side. So really nice and simple. I've been knitting this while playing Baldur's Gate 3. It's been the best thing, and also playing D&D, of course, so 2 different iterations of D&D. But yeah, it's been fantastic, and I love this colour. I really hope I saved the dye recipe for this. I also love the way it comes out on non-superwash yarn, which is almost more muted than superwash. So superwash yarn, you get these really striking colours, but non-superwash, it comes out as a softer colour. So yeah, happy with that so far. It's definitely keeping me occupied at the moment, and I'm enjoying knitting away at it. One of my favourite features is that the edge is an I-cord. Actually, let me show you the other side. I think that will be easier. So it's a very, very neat edge, which I love. And it's garter stitch, so just knitting back and forth. And yeah, love the colour, love the pattern. There will be a lot more of these in my future. I'm tempted to make, to kind of give this one to one of my family for Christmas and then knit another one or another two. I think I've got green yarn that's the same, and I've also got some very dark burgundy. So I might knit two more for Christmas and then give them away as gifts. I am just knitting this on my higher sharp interchangeable needles, and it's just going very, very smoothly and easily along. I use one of these digital stitch markers to count my rows because I lose track. I think there's a repeat every 6 rows, or like a decrease or increase every 6 rows on this pattern. And I need to keep track, otherwise I'll lose it because I'm either listening to a story or trying to play a game at the same time. And I'm keeping this in my little round bottom bag, and that is from Quince Pie, who has unfortunately stopped selling bags on Etsy, which is a bit sad, because I have 2 of these that I've had for a very, very long time. They've held up very well, and they're really great for small projects. But yeah, this is the second ball. I've just finished the first one. So that's what the yarn looks like in the ball. I need some more of this colour in my life by the looks of it, especially because it goes so well with this. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Super simple pattern by Petite Knit. Seeing it everywhere. Such a good wardrobe staple, because every time I go and look for a scarf in my wardrobe or a shawl, it's generally, my other one is my go-to, my pink one. And it goes so well with everything. It's very easy to just wrap around your neck and be done. So yeah, that is that at the moment, making steady progress. My next project is being kept in my Hide and Hammer number 3, I think. I think that's the number. This is one that I got from my husband a couple of years ago for Christmas, and I really love it. It holds a lot of yarn, and it is in this really lovely waxed canvas, and I love the shade, the colour, beautiful. Some Durham Natura in there. So this is my Snefald shawl, and this is a pattern by Fibre Tales. I think it's Lerga. And it's quite a unique pattern for a shawl because it is colourwork and then steeked. So I am knitting this in 4 colours of John Arbon Knit by Numbers. Unfortunately now this version is discontinued because it's the merino, but they have switched in a BFL version of the yarn. Hopefully has all the same colours. They are all numbered, so I will stick them in the description below. But I have a base colour of this kind of dark charcoal. Then I've got a second colour of this kind of muted sage green. A third colour of the kind of vieux rose, my grandmother would call it, or old pink, but basically kind of a faded pink, and then a cream just after that. And yeah, this shawl pattern is a triangle shawl, but it is knit in colourwork, and instead of back and forth you knit it in the round, and then you steek it. So at the moment this seems like I'm knitting either a yoke of a sweater or a hat or something, and I'm having to keep adding longer cables to it. But let me show you up close how it's looking so far. So that's how it looks. I was a little worried that it would look too Christmassy because of the red and well, it's pink, but red and green and white. But I don't think it will once I've got this big section in the middle done, which will be mostly green with little specks of white, as you can see there. And I am thoroughly enjoying this. I haven't done colour work for some time, but I absolutely love it. You can see it's a bit, I need to even it out a little bit on the needles so that you can see it in all its glory, but that's how it's looking at the moment. And I'm speeding through. I only started this last weekend, so I've only been knitting it for a week. Let me show you this bit will be the kind of front, I suppose. So it'll be pointing down this way. See if I can, I need to change my needles again, don't I? But yeah, this yarn is really, really lovely and soft. I have knit with it before. I hope I'll have to try the BFL version of the yarn soon. But yeah, the colour work is lovely and meditative. It is 3 colours at once, which is a little bit more awkward than 2. I'm now pleased to be on this section that I can just speed through, which is 2 colours. But I really like the impact. It reminds me a little bit of the throw-over sweater or the throwback cardigan by Andrea Mowry. So I knit the cardigan version. I will be knitting the sweater version soon in some different yarn. But yeah, and I love the little bobbles. So she does give you a different method to knit the bobbles in, but I think they look like little raspberries. It's really cute. So yeah, I have this steeked section over this side here, which is what I'm going to cut. I don't know how I'm going to reinforce yet. I've heard that crochet reinforcements are really tricky and irritating. I also saw someone on Instagram doing a felted reinforcement, so you needle felt all of the section that you're going to cut, so it's all kind of stuck together and isn't going to come apart, which I could try. I'm not sure if this will felt very well, or I do a sewn reinforcement with a zigzag stitch, and I'm not the best with sewing machines and knit fabrics, so let's see. I am excited to try, and I will do some research before I actually go ahead and cut it open, obviously. But otherwise, just thoroughly enjoying knitting colour work again, liking the way it looks so far, and looking forward to having it all finished. Yeah, and it's so nice and easy knitting colour work in the round rather than flat, which I did have to do for the throwback rather. I had to knit colour work flat, so purling colour work is just a nightmare. But yeah, liking that at the moment. And you can see I've got a lot of threads attached. Yeah, and I think there's a couple of other patterns that Leg has released that are in the same kind of vein. So they're triangular shawls with colour work that you steek, and I love the idea of doing that, just because it's gonna be easier to knit in general. Yeah, so that is coming along quite quickly. It obviously is going to grow quite a bit because it's a shawl, and I'm starting from the smallest point and going out, but I'm pleased with how quickly I've made progress so far, and I'm very, very much enjoying it. I've got, for Halloween, I grabbed a little ghost out of my stitch marker collection. Is he going to show up? Kind of. I don't think you can see his face. There you go. That one, I will drop the link to the person who made it in the description below. It was off Etsy. Again, another gift from my husband, but I tend to just send him links and then he buys what he wants from those. Yeah, so loving that. Going back in the bag, and I'm hoping to have it finished fairly soon considering the speed at which I am knitting it, although I will have a sweater on the needle soon, so let's see. I am going to continue talking about knitting just for a minute, and talk about what I'm going to be casting on next. So I went back and looked at all of the kind of winter patterns that I had in my Ravelry library, and I realised that there's one pattern that I had the yarn for that had been, I think, waiting my queue since 2018. I believe I bought the yarn in 2017, and this pattern is from liner number 4, and it's the Stalactite sweater, so it's this one here. Stalactite by Camille, Roselle, I think that's how you say it. And this is a sweater that I have wanted to knit for an incredibly long time, and never got around to. So yeah, there's a few more pictures of the pattern in there. So it's got this really lovely kind of stalactite detail, I suppose. And this does mean I'm going to have to knit a sweater pattern from a book, but I actually have a lot of patterns in here that I want to knit. So for example, there is the Airy sweater by Isabel Kramer, which is beautiful, and I also have the yarn for. And then there's also the Lakeland sweater in this one as well. Oh, and the Magnolia, the original Magnolia by Camille. So yeah, this book had everything in it. Oh yeah, there's the Lakeland. This is another one that I'd like to really knit soon out of some Dura Natura. Oh, this cardigan as well is amazing, but I think that must be Fisherman's Rib, so it's probably a really lengthy knit. That's called the Morgan. There's so many good patterns in this particular issue, but I'm going to be knitting the Stalactite. So I have some very old yarn. I've even labelled it. You can see it's been sitting there for a long time. It even has a Stalactite label on it because I needed to remember what it was for. And this is Cascade 220 Heathers. Can I see the colour from here? Probably not. I'll probably have to actually open the bag. Colourway is 8836. And I have used this yarn before. I actually used this for the boxy sweater by Joji Locatelli, but in a different colour, and that's held up pretty well, but I haven't worn it all that much. I've also used it for my colourwork, my first colourwork sweater. I'm trying to remember what it's called, but I'll figure it out and put it in the description below. That has also held up really well. This is a great yarn, but it's obviously much more commercial than something like Gilliatt, which is from a smaller mill and organisation. So I'd almost prefer to support these guys. But yeah, it's a very, very good yarn for sweaters, definitely. So yeah, this is Cascade 220. I've had it for a long time. The labels probably don't look the same anymore. They may not even have this colour, but this is Deep Stash, and I'm really pleased to actually go ahead and start using it, especially for the thing that I bought the yarn for in the first place. Sorry for the crinkly, I'm just going to pop that back in the bag. So that's going to be the main colour, and I think that will work really well. And then I've just got this leftover Iku from the colourwork sweater that I did that is the same, so it's also Cascade 220, that I will use for the little stalactites. I need to do a swatch, I need to wind some yarn, so I'll be doing that today and getting on with my little swatch of the pattern. So I will probably be able to show you that next time. I'm very excited to get another sweater on the needles. It's felt like a bit of a relief to finish this one. And I'll see what happens in terms of whether I give it away, keep it, maybe get used to the neckline. But excited to have another one. And that's Aran weight yarn, by the way, so that's all good. Nice and warm sweater for the winter. I love the idea of knitting a roll neck again as well. Well, actually, I haven't knitted a roll neck before, but I really love roll neck sweaters, so it's going to be perfect. It's going to go so well in my wardrobe. Okay, that is all the knitting I have to talk about right now, but I do have some spinning to talk about. So I am going to go ahead and talk about a couple of things that I've spun. So the first one was just sort of like a grab and go. I bought some John Arbon fibre when I first got my grandmother's spinning wheel, just to test some things out, and this had just been lying around, and I thought, well, I just feel like spinning something, I'm just going to grab it and go. And this is the Appledore blend. Double checking what it is, sorry for the crinkling. Which is 40% Devon close wool, 40% Romney and 20% Exmoor Blueface, and the colourway is Winter Stubbard. And this is what it looks like. So I am personally moving away from blended tops more into hand-dyed tops. That's because I feel like the blended tops look amazing when they're all sort of laid out, but then you are absolutely blending the colours together when you're spinning them. So this is the top when it was not a span, it looked much whiter, but because it has this brown and blue in it, you don't actually see any white because of the way that the colours are blending together when you spin them. It does look nice. I am not sure whether I'm going to be using this yarn. So I might see if one of my friends wants it, or I could weave with it. Maybe see if I can find a blue to weave it with, but I'm just not a big fan of the kind of muted brown, browny beige colour that's the background colour here. But it was one that I bought before I knew all about the yarns and how they spin up, so I just thought I might as well spin it. I can give it away to someone to use if someone else wants it. And yeah, I think it should be, it's probably a sport to DK weight. It's quite crunchy yarn, it's not the softest, but I think that's probably because of the Devon close wool. And yeah, it's still a good practice spin. And I spun this up in 2 days, I think. Yeah, so not bad at all. I do like the little specks of blue. I'm just not a fan of the base colourway. If it was a richer brown, sure, but I don't, yeah, it's not a colour that I gravitate towards really. The other spin that I have been doing is that, given it's approaching December 1st again, I'm going to be receiving another Fibre advent calendar, and I thought I'd better finish off the one from last year. By finish off I mean, I think I've spun 4 or 5 of the 24 so far. Sorry for the crinkling, just getting it out. So this was day number 1 of my World of Wool advent last year, and it is a mix of merino, bamboo and silk, and it was like, in the fibre it did look very Christmassy, very green, red and white, but I actually really like the way it's turned out, especially with the little pops of red that are in the silk, from the silk. I think it looks really nice. So I'm gonna have to decide what I do with these, and this is 50 grams, literally took me 2 hours to spin and ply, and I'll be on to the next one next. I'm tempted to maybe make some kind of blanket or weave a scarf with all of these. I think that would be nice actually. I have to see, because they are very, very different fibres. So I'll show you the next one I'm going to spin in a moment. So this is obviously very soft. You've got merino, bamboo and silk in here, so it's very shiny. But yeah, so they may not all work together, but I kind of feel like doing something. Maybe I could make ornaments with the ones that I don't use for other things. I'm not 100% sure, but let me know if you have any ideas. I'd love to hear them. I'm definitely excited for the run up to Christmas this year. So they're my 2 actual spins this time over the last 2 weeks. And then my next spin is box number 3 of last year's advent calendar. And this is very, very Christmassy. I am not sure how this is going to come out. I am a bit worried it's going to end up very muddy, unless I separate out the green and the red somehow. Focus. Let's see. This is 100% Shetland, day 3. I will have spun day 2 before. So yeah, I'll obviously show all of my spins on the podcast next time, so I'll let you know how this one went. But yeah, I might have to split out the colours and then ply them together. It'll be an experiment anyway. The Shetland yarn is a bit more coarse than your standard merino, so it is a bit rougher, and it's quite matte in its fibre. So yeah, if I show you there, it's quite matte, it's not very shiny. Yeah, but I'm going to work through, so from 1 all the way to 24, except for the ones that I've already spun, and at the end of it I'll have all of them done. What I did previously was actually spin 2 colours separately and then ply them together, which actually did make a really nice yarn, which I still have to knit with. I do have a plan for that. I have a cowl that I want to knit. So yeah, let's see how I get on, and then I'll have cleared the decks for the new advent calendar. I would love, with my new advent calendar, to spin each day on the day, but I think it's quite a bit of a commitment for 50 grams. If it was 20 grams, I think I could do it, but 50 grams is still going to take me a couple of hours each day. And if I do that, I'm never going to get any knitting done. I'm not going to be able to do anything else in the evenings. So probably not something that I am going to push myself to do, but I'll try and get them all spun up before next year as well. Or maybe have a project in January. That makes sense. Maybe I spin them all in January over that period. Yeah, we'll see. I did love opening this advent calendar last year, and that's why I couldn't resist getting another one this year, especially because I have absolutely fallen headfirst into spinning and I am obsessed. I just now need to use the massive bag of handspun yarn I have. Yeah, there's a lot. I might do a little showcase at some point in a couple of weeks, just to show you all of my handspun, because I want to separate them out into things that I will use and things that I don't think I'll use, and see if anyone from my craft group wants any of the skeins that I don't think I'll use. Quite a quick episode this week. That is everything I have to show, but I will be back in a couple of weeks' time, I expect, because I'm definitely motoring through the knitting at the moment. So have a lovely crafty couple of weeks, and I will speak to you again soon. I hope you're enjoying the autumn, and as it gets colder, the ability to knit warm sweaters. That's my aim anyway. Thanks for watching. Speak to you soon. Bye.